नम आदाय रत्नदंडम सखीकरात् तेन विजयति देवी उपासां चक्र ईश्वरम. Translation. From her maidservant's hand, goddess Rukmini took a yak hair fan with a jeweled handle, and then she began to worship her master by fanning him. This is text 8. Sopachyutam Kvanayati Mani Nupurabhyam Rejeng Guliya Valaya Vyajanagrahasta Vastrantagudha Kuchakumkuma Shonahara Bhasa Nitamba Dhritaya Cha Parardhyakancha. Sorry, I got the meter in the later half of the verse. Translation. Her hand adorned with rings, bangles, and a chamara fan, Queen Rukmini looked resplendent standing near Lord Krishna. Her jeweled ankle bells tinkled, and her necklace glittered, reddened by the kumkuma from her breasts, which were covered by the end of her sari. On her hips, she wore a priceless belt. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur points out that as Queen Rukmini fanned her lord with broad strokes, the jewels and gold on her beautiful limbs resounded with her effort. Text 9. Tam rupinim shriyam gatim nirikshya ya leelaya dvitatanor anurupa rupa प्रीतः स्मयन् अलककुण्डल निष्ककण्ठ वक्त्रोल्लसत्स्मितसुधां हरिर आबभाषे. Translation. As he contemplated her, the goddess of fortune herself, who desires only him, Lord Krishna smiled. The Lord assumes various forms to enact his pastimes, and he was pleased that that the form the goddess of fortune had assumed was just suitable for her to serve as his consort. Her charming face was adorned with curling hair, earrings, a locket on her neck, and the nectar of her bright, happy smile. Then the Lord spoke to her as follows. Purport. Srila Sridhara Swami has quoted an interesting verse spoken by Sri Parashar in the Vishnu Puran. Devatve devadeheyam manushyatve cha manushi Vishnor dehanurupam vai karotya eshatmanastanam. When the Lord appears as a demigod, she, the goddess of fortune, takes the form of a demigoddess. And when he appears as a human being, she takes a human-like form. Thus, the body she assumes matches the one Lord Vishnu takes. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti adds that as Lord Krishna is even more beautiful than the Lord of Vaikuntha, Lord Krishna's consort Rukmini Devi is even more attractive than the goddess of fortune in the Vaikuntha world. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shriyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminite Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauritvishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna. So I seek blessings from all of you here, especially the senior Vaishnavas, Adi Purush Prabhu and others, so that we can discuss something today in line with the Guru Parampara that is nourishing to all of us. And I do that in the humble mood of a servant of the servant. Hare Krishna. So, as I mentioned, my family and I are here in Vrindavan, and it has been a bittersweet experience this time. The bitter part being the departure of Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, who was a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada and who did amazing things, great things in Prabhupada's service. So it is definitely a huge loss for the movement. And yeah, I happened to witness the physical body of Maharaj yesterday, and the Samadhi ceremony took place yesterday. So his Samadhi is right there behind Krishna Balram temple in the Goshala. So yeah, let us all pray that all the devotees of the movement, especially Maharaj's God family, get the strength in this tough time, and that we all try to follow in the footsteps of Maharaj and the amazing example and legacy that he has left for us. So anyway, so this chapter is very interesting. So Krishna teases Rukmini, and it gets very intense actually. We ended at the verse where Krishna is about to speak to Rukmini, and it gets really intense after that. But in any case, yeah, it is described that um, so the goddess of fortune or the consort of the Lord, she takes the exact form that is very suitable to serve her Lord in whichever form the Lord is. Right? It says here that when the Lord appears as a demigod, she takes the form of a demigoddess. When he appears as a human being, she takes a human-like form. Like that, she just takes those forms that are very suitable for the service, for her service to the Lord. The way I understood this is when I was reflecting on this. Um, of course, she's the consort of the Lord. She's the energy of the Lord, and she can take any form and she can do anything that she likes, which will be suitable for the service of her Lord at any given point of time. But we don't have those powers. We as sadhakas, we don't possess such kind of powers. Right? But at least what we can definitely try to do is to be the best version of ourselves with whatever we have and engage that in the Lord's service. So it is said that what we are is God's gift to us, and what we become is our gift to God. So it's really interesting that we can make a small difference with whatever we are, whoever we are. So nobody is disqualified, so to say, from bhakti yoga, from the process of devotional service. So anyway, we did Govardhan Parikrama today, by the way. It was a wonderful experience. We didn't walk all the way, of course, because Prithu was there with us. So we did it on the Toto, they call it. It's like a electric means of transport. It can sit only four people at once. So there are all these people who drive these totos, and they take you for the parikrama, and then we stopped at various places to absorb the vibrations there and chant around and just understand what the story was and things like that. So we saw so many places, so many significant places in Krishna's pastimes. Kusum Sarovar, then there was Govind Kund, then of course there is Radha Kund, Sham Kund, there is Poonchadika Lota Baba, that temple. So there are just so many places. Uddhav Kund, where Uddhav met the gopis, and that's where he wished to be that Gulmalata grass in Vrindavan, seeing the gopis' pure devotion to Lord Krishna. He felt my devotion is nothing towards Krishna. These gopis are such exemplary devotees, he felt, right? So there were all these wonderful temples. But I wanted to focus on one particular temple that we went to today. It's called the Temple of Radha Banabihari. I don't know if any one of you has been there, but it's a very interesting temple. And one very cute thing happened. So we reached there at around 5:55 in the morning, and 6 a.m. was the altar opening, like the Mangalarti for the temple. And then as we were entering, there was a very nice cow standing at the door, and we played with the cow. We patted her and all that, and then she was very loving. She was showering us with love. She was coming and licking us and things like that. So it was very nice. And then my friend actually who was with us, he told me that her name is Nandini, and she comes every day at exactly 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. to take the darshan of Radha Banbihari. So, and she never misses. Every single day she's there. 6 a.m. when the altar opens, and then 8 a.m. when the Shringar Darshan opens. And so today, an interesting thing happened when we went. The darshan, the altar opening was delayed due to some reason, and we saw Nandini was standing at the door. But after a few minutes, like at 6:05 or 6:08, whatever, Nandini, I couldn't see Nandini anymore at the door. And then I told my friend, "Oh, Nandini probably went away. I really feel she should come back," I said. And then my friend told me, "Prabhu, don't worry. She's more concerned about getting the darshan than you are." And lo and behold, I think at 6:10 or something, the altar opened and she was right there at the door taking darshan of the Lord. So really amazing. It was a very cute thing that we witnessed today. But anyway, in this Radha Banbihari temple, I wanted to talk about the pastime related to this particular temple, the deities in the temple. And so typically in Radha Krishna temples, we see that Krishna is holding a flute. And but in this particular temple, in addition to a flute, he is holding something else. And that something else is, drum rolls, is a comb. So if you see here, let me turn on the laser pointer. So this is Krishna. He's with the flute. This is Radharani. These are specific forms of Krishna and Radharani, which are not like the typical forms we see in a temple, like a human-like form, but I think these are made from Shilas. And this is the comb that Krishna is holding, and this is a mirror. So it is related to a specific pastime where Krishna, and this pastime happened in the Kusum Sarovar area, where Krishna is combing Radharani's hair, and Radharani has a mirror in front of her, and she's holding that mirror. But interestingly, what she's seeing in the mirror is not how her hair is being combed, but she's seeing Krishna in the mirror. So this is a really beautiful pastime that happened. And one sec, let me just check. Yes. So yeah. So this pastime where Radharani is holding the mirror and she's looking at Krishna, and Krishna is taking a comb and combing Radharani's hair. So that's the pastime. And then we were talking to the temple, the one of the devotees serving in the temple there, and she was uh, speaking about this pastime and the lessons that we should be drawing from this pastime. And really beautiful lessons. We'll discuss those lessons today. Actually, that's what we'll do predominantly in the class. So the first thing is the first lesson that was drawn is the mirror is compared to our heart. And in a conditioned stage, the heart is covered with so many selfish desires, so many desires for our own benefit or our own wants and things like that. So in that sense, it's contaminated. Our heart is not in a right place in a contaminated stage, right? And so our heart is misdirected, right? They say often the heart wants what it wants, things like that. Now the process of cleaning the mirror of the mind or the heart, we talk about cleaning the mirror of the mind, but it can be applied to cleaning the mirror of the heart also, is chanting of the holy names. So in a conditioned state, whenever we look at our heart, we only see ourselves in it. We only see our own needs and wants in it. Right? But when we chant the holy names of Krishna more and more, and we serve the Vaishnavas, we engage in the 9 processes of bhakti, in any of the 9 processes of bhakti, with a sincere, that starts cleansing the mirror of the heart. and it starts cleansing the mirror of the heart slowly and gradually. And then at one point, what we start seeing is Krishna in our hearts. So that is really beautiful, because in the pure state of consciousness, we will actually witness the Lord in our heart, and that is actually the goal of yoga. Samadhi siddhir Ishvara pranidhana, right? The goal of samadhi is when we completely surrender to Ishvara, or the controller, the supreme controller. And that is what happens when we practice this chanting, which is the Yuga Dharma, chanting the holy names of the Lord. The mirror of our heart, mirror of our mind gets cleansed, and we will start seeing the Lord in that mirror, just like Radharani sees Krishna in the mirror that she's holding. Right. So from the heart wants what it wants, it becomes the heart gets what it actually yearns for. So it's a really beautiful lesson that that Mataji was drawing out. So the second lesson that she drew out of this pastime was Krishna was combing Radharani's hair. So Krishna is serving his devotee, and Prabhupada writes this in many places that on the absolute realm. So there's this book On the Way to Krishna, and in that book, Prabhupada writes that we have to surrender to Krishna, and Krishna also says that we have to surrender to him. He says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja, 18.66 Bhagavad Gita, right? Give up all varieties of dharma and surrender unto me. Krishna says, I will give you freedom from all sinful reactions, do not worry. And but then when we initially when I read that, oh, surrender, okay. Surrender means this is something like, completely becoming subdued by someone else's ego and things like that. That's what we think of surrender. One army surrenders to another army in a battle. That means it's a loss. The army that is surrendering has lost to the other army, right? The other army has subdued them. So, but Prabhupada writes that surrender on the absolute platform doesn't work that way. So yes, he says surrender on the absolute platform is reciprocal. When the devotee surrenders to the Lord also gives himself or herself, to Krishna. Lord gives himself to the devotee, and that is the surrender on the absolute platform. So there is service happening from both ends. So in that sense, there is no difference between Krishna and the devotee. Prabhupada also, this merging, oneness does not mean that we physically merge in the Lord, but oneness means that one sec, it's suddenly dark because there's no electricity. Can you guys can hear me, right?
Yes, Prabhu, we can hear you.
Yeah. So yes, that's visible again. Yes. So I just wanted to make sure the Wi-Fi didn't go out because of the electricity going out. So yes. So Krishna gives himself to the devotee, and the devotee selflessly serves and serves Krishna and surrenders himself or herself unto him. Right? It is said in the ninth canto, a verse comes where we know the pastime of Ambrish Maharaj, where due to no fault of his, Ambrish Maharaj is blamed for an offense towards a Brahmana, towards his Durvasa Muni. And Durvas Muni, he's so angry that he wants to finish Ambrish Maharaj. And then that time, because Ambrish Maharaj is a pure devotee of the Lord, to protect Ambrish Maharaj, Sudarshan comes. Sudarshan is like, how can you offend Lord Narayan's devotee, or Lord Narayan's pure devotee? And Sudarshan is a very, very great weapon, formidable. You can't just defeat anyone. Can't just defeat Sudarshan. He's like, top notch. And then Durvas Muni, he flees in fear. He goes to the upper planetary systems. He goes to the lower planetary systems. He goes everywhere around the universe. And he even goes to Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha. Durvas Muni had that mystic power of going anywhere he wanted. Right. So he went to the abode of Lord Narayan. And then he says, this is your astra. Sudarshan Chakra is your astra. Please take him back. I don't want to die. And then that time, Lord Narayan says this very beautiful verse. I think this is it's in ninth canto. I don't remember the exact where it comes, but Aham Bhakta Paradhino Yah Aswatantra Ivadvija Sadhubhir Grasta Hridayo Bhaktair Bhakta Janapriya. So Lord Narayan is saying, aham bhakta paradhino. It's as if I'm subdued by my devotee. Aswatantra ivadvija. Swatantra is freedom, independence. But when my devotee surrenders unto me, it's like I'm subdued by the love of the devotee, and I cease being an independent person, so to say. The swarat, the most independent person, the supremely independent person, is saying that the love of my devotee, makes me dependent on the devotee. A very, very significant thing for the Lord to say, actually. And then that is Krishna. That is the Lord. That when a devotee surrenders to the Lord gives himself completely to the devotee. And the Lord also says on multiple occasions within the Shastras, within the Puranas, that to great devotees, he says, I cannot repay you for your great devotion to me. To Hanuman, he said that the Lord Ram said to Hanuman that the great service that you've done, I don't know how I can repay you for this, dear Hanuman. Right? I can only give you my own self. I can give you my full self to you, he says. To the gopis, he also says that um, I, I, I I cannot repay the great devotion that you have towards me. Please be happy with your own devotion. That is your glory, he says. And then to Rukmini also in this very chapter, we'll see how Krishna teases Rukmini, and then Rukmini also replies to Krishna at one point in beautiful words. And then finally Krishna says that, I can't repay you. I can't repay you for your amazing devotion to me. So that is the Lord. That is the Lord. And from this pastime of a Kusum Sarovar where Krishna is combing Radharani's hair, we see that the Lord gives himself to the devotee when the devotee fully surrenders to the Lord. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has become the charioteer of Arjuna. Right? Even in the Bhagavatam also, the entry of Krishna is now when a celebrity enters, like when the hero of a movie enters, he enters like whatever in a very stylish entry, and then he's just killing all the villains left and right, and then he's like the alpha male, whatever, so to say. He enters in a movie, the hero enters in a position of dominance, right? But if we see Bhagavatam, the entry of Krishna is not like that. The entry of Krishna is mentioned as when he's the charioteer of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So, the entire Bhagavatam is dedicated to glorifying the Lord. And then, so in that sense, the Lord is the hero. But how is the hero entering? How is the hero coming into the picture of Bhagavatam? He's coming as the servant of his servant. That is the Lord. That is Lord Krishna. We discussed these two lessons out of this pastime of Krishna combing the hair of Radharani. So, yeah, that is all I had for today, actually. And let me see the comments if there is anything. Would you please talk again on cleansing of the contaminants in the heart? Yes. Yeah. So the Shastras say that the heart, the mind, they are like mirrors, right? And over the years, because of whatever our interactions with karma, our interactions with the material nature, we have developed layers and layers of contaminations. And these contaminations manifest themselves in the form of various anarthas, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion, and whatever the corresponding actions, selfish actions that we do. And but this process of chanting is so powerful that it takes out layer by layer all the anarthas of our heart. Of course, there is a quality to such chanting, and even I am not there yet. I am trying to get there, but there is a quality to that chanting. When our chanting is intense and sincere and in the present, it takes out these layers of contaminations in the heart, in the mind, and then the mirror. Just like consider a mirror, right? If a mirror is, let's say, covered by dust, layer after layer, then when we look in the mirror, we'll just see the dust. We'll just see the contamination, the dirt. But then if we take some cloth and clean the mirror, and then as the mirror becomes cleaner and cleaner, we start seeing our own self. Right? And the interesting thing is, we are not alone. We are not alone in this. The Lord is traveling with us everywhere, and the Lord wants us to turn towards Him. It is said that there are two birds sitting in the tree of the body, in the region of the heart. This comes in Mundaka Upanishad, and the one of the birds is trying to eat the fruits of the tree, and in the process of eating the fruits of the tree, sometimes that bird is getting hurt. So the bird is struggling. Sometimes the bird is able to enjoy the fruits. It's just going on like that. And then this other bird is just witnessing everything. It's just witnessing everything. It's trying to, in some ways, prod this other bird who is busy in all this good and bad of the tree to turn towards him. And when this jiva bird, I mean, the analogy is clear. The bird that is trying to enjoy is the jiva bird, or the spirit soul, and the bird that is witnessing is the Lord, or the super soul, or the Paramatma within the heart. So the Paramatma, the Lord, is there always with us. We just don't know it. He's always there with us. And when we cleanse the mirror of the mind, we don't just see ourselves. We see also the Lord in our heart. When we clean the mirror of the heart, that is. So we also see the Lord. So that is something that was in this analogy. Yeah. Anyway, any other comments?
Thank you. May I just say thank you so much, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for. I really needed this today, and thank you for sharing the darshan of the pictures. Where it just made my heart smile. And thank you for the great class. Thank you.
Happy to serve you, Mataji. Hope you feel better. Hare Krishna.
I will. I'm already feeling better. I'm like, can I go home now? I don't think I need you guys anymore. But I'll stay here today. Am I right? Thank you.
Yes. So we are open to reflections, discussions, feedback.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Thank you for class, Prabhu. Appreciating it very much. Two thoughts really came to mind. One is what you started the class with. I very much appreciate that you shared that Gopal Krishna Goswami has, departed from this world. And perhaps the first thing I thought of when you announced that was just this potent reminder that everyone on this call, especially the younger folks, like those are going to be the gurus of tomorrow, the GBCs of tomorrow, the sannyasis of tomorrow. And it's that time where there will be less and less Srila Prabhupada disciples on this planet, and eventually it will be left to the grand disciples, and then the great grand disciples. And so I was really appreciating just this reminder of, it's happening. It's not just a vague idea that the generations are changing over, but yes, advanced Vaishnavas are departing from us. And on one hand, it's sad and lamentable. On the other hand, it's also an invitation that the torchlight is being passed on to the next people. And that's why we need to cultivate ourselves now, so that we're ready to receive it and then give it to others. And then the second thought that I had was what you just finished the class with, this idea that as we purify the mirror of the hearts, the mirror of the heart, the mirror of the mind, we're able to see Krishna better. Srila Prabhupada would always say that Krishna is never alone. He's always with his associates. And the reverse is true as well. Krishna's associates, ideally, are never alone. They always want to be with Krishna. And perhaps we're not in the Nitya Leela of Vrindavan, but still, when we really purify ourselves, it's not possible to see ourselves without also seeing Krishna, because we have an intrinsic, powerful link with Krishna. And so the more we see ourselves, the more we're able to see Krishna. It's baked into the Bhakti Yoga process. And so I'm appreciating that reminder. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for class.
Thank you. Amazing reflections. Thank you, Prabhu. Damodar Priya Mataji for GBC. Hare Krishna. Any other reflections, dear devotees?
Can I share a reflection? Jagannath Gopal
Yes,
Prabhu?
please.
I really liked how you explained that when you cleanse the mirror of your heart, you won't just see yourself. There will be Krishna, there will be other devotees. It's a big group that you'll see there. Yes. Everybody's smiling, everybody's jumping, dancing. Right? That is so fun. Okay, that's my reflection. Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Adipusha Prabhu, we see you'd like to glorify Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Someone gave me this. We've been listening lately about these different varieties of loving exchanges. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Lord.
Yeah. And we always say how wonderful is Krishna, that's the subject of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And in a more precise, how wonderful is Krishna's love. So one of our friends who's from the Hasidic tradition, he gave me this a while ago, and I just came across it. I was cleaning out a drawer last night. The Lord's love is everlasting. Our subject matter is not just Krishna, but Krishna's love. Krishna's love is everlasting, no end, no beginning, an eternal fact. Krishna's love is everlasting, no end, no beginning, eternal. Krishna's love is not a duty that he's performing. Krishna's love is a genuine feeling and affection for us always. And they have this word, ahava. Ahava means love, the love that Krishna has for us. So the prophet Hosea, he compared God's love for us. It's a feeling like a husband loves his wife, like a mother loves her child. But God's love is not just a feeling. It's related to something that God chooses to do. He doesn't just feel, he actually does something. Love is always in action. And then he said, like when Moses said, because of God's ahava for our ancestors, he brought us out of Egypt with great power. God's love is not just a sentiment, but is something that God does to show us love. In the Shema, there's this prayer, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu. They have this chant that they do. Israel is called to respond to God's ahava by showing ahava in return to him and to all others. Just like Krishna loves us, so we want to respond and show our love to him and to others. And then it says, just like God's love, human love is meant to show itself by action. Again, that idea that love has to be put into action. What does the Lord your God ask of you except to fear the Lord, walk in his ways, serve him, and show our love by keeping his commandments? Fear, walk, serve, and keep. All these actions are centered around love. If I'm not loving these actions, then I'm not actually loving God. Let us say and also show our love. I show love for God by how I treat the people around me. In the book of Deuteronomy, God defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow. Krishna defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow. He shows, get this, it's kind of interesting because we're going through this now in this country. The Lord shows his ahava, his love for the immigrants among you by giving them food and clothing. Immigration is not just a new thing. It's always been going on. It says here right in Scripture, we show our love for the immigrants among us by giving them food and clothing. So you must also show ahava for the immigrants, Scripture says. People are called to show God's ahava by showing ahava to others. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. And in the book Gospel by St. John, it says, we love God because God loved us first. And then, of course, there's that amazing quote, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful. Love is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. Love is not irritable or resentful. Love does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in truth. Love never ends. It bears all things, believes in all things, loving. And love hopes for all and endures all. I don't know, just hearing about Krishna's love, we hear about this, and it's an awakening. It's a reminding of something that we all really know already, that there is such a thing as Krishna loving everyone, and us loving Krishna, and us loving each other. Anyway, Krishna is so wonderful. Krishna's love is so wonderful. Just to hear these things is what we come together to do. How wonderful is Krishna's love. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada, who's showing Krishna's love to us.
Thank you, bro. Beautiful.
Oh, glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you. This is the morning class at the Ahava Center in New York City. Okay, Sharmila has, yeah, go ahead.
The last few days we have two devotees with French accents, two brahmacharis. Bhaktinandana Prabhu gave class, I think yesterday and a few days ago, Jasoda Dulal Prabhu, both French accents. And in all their classes, they speak of love. We must speak of
Okay. When we cleanse the mirror of our heart, Mike will see his friends. What's your friend's name? I forget, Mike Prabhu. The one and one. Bhima?
Bean boy.
Big
Bean.
boy.
No, not Beema. No, not Beema. Beanie. Like
Beanie.
Beanie Baby.
Yeah, Beanie Baby. Yeah, that's right. Okay, Sharmila has her hand up.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the wonderful class and sharing the pastimes. It's so wonderful to hear Gomata Nandini hankering to see Krishna. It's it just shows the mood of Vrindavan and how all jivas are just trying to see Krishna, and it is darshan. It's thank you so much for that, and also thank you for the Mandokopanishad quote that jivas are just a witness. The doer inside is Krishna himself. We are experiencing whatever he is doing. We are just a witness of what is going on in us and around us. Thank you very much for that beautiful thought. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I mean, so Krishna is the witness and the sanctioner. We are the desirer, and the material nature is the doer. Actually, that's how it works. So, yeah, Krishna witnesses, and he's looking for us to look toward him.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
We have a question in the chat from Neha. Prabhu, he wrote, question, isn't when we clear the mirror of our minds, automatically the mirror of our heart gets cleared too?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah,
And what's
I
the
mean,
difference between the mind and heart in the bhakti context?
I guess heart is more related to what I would not say value, because the mind can also do that. I mean, if I had to go into the technicalities of it, then the mind is more like a storehouse of thoughts, desires, and past impressions. But the heart is where the real yearning for pleasure comes from. Yes, I would put it that way. And now, as long as that yearning for pleasure is coming out through the via medium of the mind, which is contaminated with so many desires, so many thoughts, so many past impressions, then that is when we say that the heart is misdirected. That is when we say that our yearning for pleasure, yearning for joy is misdirected. So I would put it that way. Don't know if that makes sense, but
Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Okay, we have time for one or two more reflections.
Gopal Prabhu, thank you so much for the darshan of those deities. I had to take a screenshot and send it to Paul so that he could see, because that was very, very, very sweet. And especially like Sharmila Prabhu said, that pastime with Nandini, the cow. I have a god sister who's called Krishna Nandini, Devidasi. So I think I'm going to share that with her. I think she'll find that really sweet. I had a question about the quote that Adipurusha Prabhu shared. And in the quote, it said that Krishna wants our fear. And I was just wondering like how to understand that, because I don't know that I've heard that before about Krishna wanting our fear.
So I think fear is an impetus to serve God in the Abrahamic context, in the Abrahamic religions. But the way I see fear is the fear of, let's say, doing something that might offend God, or the fear that doing something that might offend Vaishnavas. That kind of fear is a healthy fear. In fact, I think this was when Prabhupada was on the planet, or he wasn't on the planet. So one god brother of Prabhupada said that you guys don't fear Maya that much. You don't. What he exactly said was, you do not have a healthy fear of Maya. So that's what he said. So that was interesting. Now, Krishna talks about love. We have that progression that Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in Chaitanya Shikshamrit. From fear, we need to go up to desire, right? We can worship God out of fear, or the higher is we worship God out of desire, out of some desire for reciprocation. Higher than that is we worship God just out of a sense of duty. But then the highest of all is that we worship God out of love. So now fear is definitely, it's not that at every point I'm fearful. Oh, if I pick up my mobile phone, is God going to be offended? Are the Vaishnavas going to be offended? Not that kind of an unhealthy fear, but I guess a healthy fear that if I do something that is not as per the Shastra, or what my gurus have taught me, then that will take me away from Krishna. That kind of fear, I think, is a healthy fear when it is done in the right perspective with guidance. But other than that, yes, in bhakti, the predominating emotion is love. The predominating emotion is love, and now it's not that desire, duty, and this thing are not there, fear are not there. Like Mother Yashoda, when Krishna is doing all this mischief, she's fearing that, oh, if my son does this mischief, I fear that he might grow up to be a naughty person. He's stealing butter now. What I fear that he might grow up and don't know what he'll steal, and then who will marry him? So she's expressing this kind of fear, but then that fear is also out of a predominating emotion of love. So that's the way I see bhakti yoga as. And then even desire, right? Like the gopis used to worship the goddess Katyayani out of a desire to get Krishna as their husband. So that desire is there, but then the predominating emotion is that of love. So that's the way I see it within Bhakti Yoga, at least. And I think that is the essence of all spiritual paths, not just the Sanatan Dharma, the Vedic spiritual path, but even any other genuine spiritual path. That love is the supreme most thing, and then if a healthy fear is it prods us into the right direction, then yes, that could be.
Chandra ki jai, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu ki jai. Please pray for us, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, to the holy Dham. Okay. Any final words for us, Jagannath Gopal? Final
Sorry,
instructions?
no, I was just saying I was sitting at the bank of Radhakund today and I was praying for all the devotees of the Srimad Bhagavatam class Sangha of Bhakti Center, and that we can all go closer to Krishna. So yeah, thank you. Really value all of your association, and I hope that sometime we can all personally meet also.
Yeah, we can have a live class in Vrindavan. We'll bring Adi there. Adi Pusha Prabhu has never been to India, so that'll be a good start for him. Okay. Yeah, please include our pets, include our children in your prayers. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Poppy, pray for Poppy. She needs it. For everyone on this call. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. We love you. We need you. Come again tomorrow. Haribol. Nice seeing you.